Afro Tales podcast is a part of the Connected Podcast Network. Ahoy, my friends. Welcome aboard the Afro Tales podcast. I'm your storyteller, Aman Mazinga. Join me as we explore the tales that grew from the people of Indigenous and African descent in the Americas and the Caribbean. After, come and see me, chef, who will impart upon you a recipe for the story you have just heard. So with no further ado, let us set sail on this new age of exploration.
The Legend of Scarface. To all Native American peoples. Many years ago, a boy lived among the Blackfeet Indians. He was called Scarface because he had been born with a mark on his cheek. His parents were dead, so he lived with his grandmother. The other children of the tribe made fun of the boy because he was poor and because of the mark on his face. Scarface spent much time in the forest and became a friend of the animals and birds. He even learned their speech. They were the brothers and sisters the boy had never known. The chief of the tribe had a beautiful daughter named Singing Rains. All the young braves tried to win her affection, but she would have none of their boastful, arrogant ways. Scarface, too, fell in love with her, but because he was poor and his face was scarred, he did not dare speak to her. When the other braves found out that Scarface was in love, they made fun of him and said, "Since Singing Rain will have no part of us, maybe she'll give her heart to one who is poor and ugly." Goaded by what the others were saying, Scarface mustered his courage. One evening, he spoke to Singing Rain beside the river. The girl saw him in a generous heart and honesty, which the other young men did not possess. She did not see the scar at all. She said to Scarface, "I would marry you. It doesn't matter that you are poor. My father would give us buffalo skins and horses. But I have made a promise to the sun, who was the father of us all, never to wed." Scarface was saddened by her words and said, "You offer me joy, and then you take it away from me. There's no way you can be freed from your vow?" And Singing Rain answered, "If the sun were to release me from my promise, I would marry you gladly." Scarface replied, "Then I will go to the sun and ask this of him. For surely the sun, who gives us all good things and is our father, does not wish his children to be unhappy." "How will you find the lodge of the sun?" asked Singing Rains. "Do you even know the way there?" "I only know that the sun dwells beyond the great waters, which are themselves beyond the forest. Surely there will be those along the way who can guide me." So Scarface set out several days later to find the home of the sun. His grandmother, who loved him dearly, kept her tears in her heart until after their party. She sewed him extra sets of moccasins and embroidered them with lucky signs made of porcupine quills. She prepared him a hide bag of pemmican made of pounded buffalo meat mixed with fat and berries. It made Scarface sad to leave his home and his grandmother. The old woman waved to him until a turn in the path hid her from his view. But he set his face resolutely to the west, determined to find the great waters and the dwelling place of the sun. When he had walked for many days, he came into a country where none of his tribe had ventured. Countless paths opened in front of him, and he was uncertain which way to go. The snows of winter were falling all around him. While he paused, he spotted a wolf nearby. Scarface called to the wolf, "Gray brother, help me." Scarface had always been friendly with the animal of the woods, and the words of his kindness had spread widely. The wolf came close and said, "You are Scarface, brother to us all. How may I help?" "I am seeking the dwelling place of the sun," he responded. "Can you show me the way?" "I have never seen the place, but I am told that this trail will take you in the right direction." And the wolf indicated the leftmost path. So Scarface thanked the wolf and traveled on his way for several days. Again, he came to a place where the road forked, and he had to come to a halt. The snow was falling more rapidly now. Spotting a mother bear and her cubs on their way to a winter burrow, Scarface called out, Sister, can you show me the way to the land where the sun dwells?" To her cubs, the she-bear said, "This is Scarface, who has shown kindness to our race." To Scarface she said, "I have never seen the place of which you speak, but others of greater wisdom than mine have said that this path will carry one there." With her paw, she indicated which fork in the road he should take. So Scarface thanked the she-bear and continued along the road she had pointed out. After a long time, Scarface came to a place where the path disappeared completely. Snow was falling heavily all around. The land was still and white and empty. It seemed that neither man nor animal had passed this way before. So he called to a pair of snowy owls who were watching him from a nearby tree. "Brother, sister, can you show me the way to the sun's house, which lies beyond the great waters?" And the snowy owls told each other, "This is Scarface, of whom our cousins speak. For word of kindness travels great distances, carried from heart to heart." They answered the youth, "We have not seen the home of the sun, but we have flown beyond the edge of the forest to the shore of the great sea. Follow us, and we will take you that far." So Scarface followed them beyond the edge of the forest to the shore of the sea, and he thanked the birds for their assistance. When they had returned to the woods, Scarface stood alone, staring across the water. There, in the far distance, he could see the faint gleams, and he knew that was where the sun had his lodge. But now, how was he to cross such a great expanse of water? Scarface spent 3 days and nights in prayer and fasting. On the morning of the 4th day, a pathway woven of mist and sunlight unrolled before him across the water toward the distant land. Boldly he stepped upon the path and ran along it as it wound ever onward, ever upward, for he felt that he was nearing the end of his quest. When he reached the land of the sun and the sky, Scarface found another path stretching before him through a forest filled with the sweet perfume of glowing things and alive with song of birds, unseen in the thickly leaved trees. The road underfoot was broad and flattened by the passage of many feet. His heart was light as he walked along. He told himself, "Now, surely, the Sun, our Father, will not refuse my quest." He had gone only a short distance when he saw, resting against a tree trunk, a richly embroidered quiver. Though his heart desired this, he did not touch it, for he knew that it must belong to someone who would return for it. A short time later, Scarface met a young man coming toward him. The young man was the handsomest person Scarface had ever seen. His clothes were decorated with beads and his moccasins with brightly colored feathers. "I lost my quiver. Have you seen it?" the stranger asked Scarface. "I have just seen it a little way back, along the path. It is safe," Scarface answered. "I am lucky that you're an honest man," said the stranger. "A thief would have taken it, and it is the gift of my father." Then he asked, "What is your name? Where are you going?" "My name is Scarface, and I'm seeking the Lodge of the Sun, which I hope is very near, since I have been journeying a long time." "My name is Morningstar, and the Sun is my father. Come with me while I reclaim my quiver, and I will take you to him." So it was that Morningstar led Scarface to the Lodge of the Sun. It was huge and shiny and painted with beautiful pictures which told the history of the world of men. Morningstar introduced Scarface to his mother, the moon, who wore a dress the color of the evening sky and earrings of gold. She greeted Scarface warmly and invited him into the lodge and gave him food and water. She listened attentively while Morningstar told how they had met, and Scarface told of his journey. But, out of shyness, Scarface hid the reason for his coming to the Lodge of the Sun. When the Sun returned to his lodge in the early evening, he, too, greeted Scarface warmly. He praised him for his honesty and heard with interest the story of his travels. Then the Sun invited Scarface to stay with him and refresh himself. The Sun warned Scarface that neither he nor Morningstar should go near a certain mountain to the north, explaining, "Savage birds live there who will seek to slay Morningstar." Scarface promised to stay away from the place, and he thanked the Sun and Moon for their kindness. But in his heart he was troubled, and he asked himself, "How can I ask such a mighty lord as the Sun to release singing rains from her bow? Already he has extended me much kindness. To ask for more would surely seem ill-mannered and anger him." So Scarface kept his secret sorrow to himself. For several days he followed Morningstar, who showed him the hidden pathways of the Sun's forest. Morningstar took him to a high peak from which Scarface could see below him the prairies and rivers and forests of the world of men, still in the hold of winter. Beyond he saw the great sea, which in the distance climbed in a curve upward from blue to deep blue to purple to rich black of night, and held in its substance all the stars of heaven, the way a cobweb holds the dewdrops of the early morning. And the view both gladdened and saddened Scarface, for in all of its wonderful beauty he sensed the beauty of singing rains. Now, Morningstar had a secret wish to meet the savage birds and do battle with them, even though his father had forbidden it. One day, while they were wandering through the forest, Morningstar slipped away from Scarface and went by a secret path to the northern mountain that was home of the fearsome birds. When Scarface discovered that his friend was missing, he immediately guessed where Morningstar had gone. So he, too, made his way to the distant mountain. But because he did not know the secret ways, he arrived long after Morningstar. Scarface found Morningstar surrounded by the terrible birds, who screeched and slashed at the young man with their claws and beaks. They had him surrounded, and it seemed only a matter of time before they would kill him. Heedless of his own safety, Scarface raced to his friend's side. His attack surprised the winged creatures and threw them into confusion. Taking this advantage, the two youths began to slay the birds, which did not retreat even when their companions sprawled lifeless on the ground. When they had slain the last bird, Scarface and Morningstar rested for a time before they set off home again. That night, the sun chided Morningstar for his disobedience and praised Scarface for his courage. The sun said, "This deed has earned you the right to ask a boon of me. What you wish, I will grant you." But Scarface, still in awe before the great father, was unable to speak. So the moon stepped forward and said to her husband, "Though he remained silent, there are words in his heart which must be spoken, or his heart will burst trying to contain them." Then to Scarface she said gently, "You are our son, as surely as Morningstar. We will not deny you your heart's desire. Has not your father promised you this much?" Moved by their words and manner, Scarface began, "Back in my village, there is a maiden, Singing Rains, who has promised that she would never wed. I ask you to release her from that vow so that she will marry me as she promised to do were she not bound by a sacred oath." The sun smiled and said to Scarface, "I release the maiden from her vow. Return to her, Scarface, and claim her as your bride. Tell her it is my wish that she marry you, and this will be one sign of my will." Here, the sun touched Scarface upon the cheek, and the scar was gone. Then he handed the boy 2 raven's feathers and said, "Give these to the maiden as a further sign of my wish." In the morning, the sun and moon gave the boy rich clothes and many gifts and wished him well. Then Morningstar led him to the edge of the skyland and showed him the shorter path home, which is called the Wolf Trail or Milky Way. Singing Rains saw Scarface coming from a great distance, and she ran to meet him. He handed her the 2 ravens' feathers and told her that the sun had released her from her vow and wished the 2 of them to marry. And he showed her where the sun touched his skin, and he healed the scar. The people of the village marveled at his new clothes and the wonderful gifts the sky dwellers had given him. The chief of the tribe greeted him warmly and welcomed the news of his daughter's wedding. The young man was no longer joked about, but was honored by all the tribe. He gave a portion of his wealth to his grandmother, who greeted him with tears of joy. And He was called Scarface, no longer, but Smoothface. He and Singing Rains were wed the following morning. The sun blessed the couple all the days of their lives, and the moon gave them sweet dreams each night. The end. Wow, another great story, right? The Legend of Scarface, a Blackfeet Indian tale by Robert Souci. I know I've read different stories by Robert Souci, and I probably called his name Souci, and I apologize for that. I know some of you guys probably heard me say his name and like, ugh, that's not how you say it. So I apologize. This story was awesome. I love adventure novels. I love adventure stories. I love adventure movies. Anything that's kind of like a quest. Like, I know a lot of people don't like quest fetch movies, like go get the thing and bring it back. But I love quest movies. They're awesome to me because you can do a lot with them. And in this story, there's a lot happening. Like, the fact that he was picked on for a scar on his face that he had no, control over as a kid. That's kids, right? And I say that and you think, oh, but kids shouldn't be like that. But it's kids. Kids do that. Kids tease each other. Kids rib each other. Sometimes it's all in fun. Sometimes it's horrible. Sometimes it helps build character. I'm not going to say that you should or shouldn't tease each other as children. You should have fun as long as it's not so much so that a person is taking it personal. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to crack jokes on each other. It's nothing to verbally harass or insult someone to the point where their esteem is being damaged or they're feeling so low that they might want to do something. Or when they look in the mirror, they can't see how beautiful or handsome they are to themselves. You understand what I'm saying? I know that went deep quick, but that was the main part of the story that I got. It's like, if he wasn't Scarface, none of this would have happened. If he wasn't Scarface, the other guys wouldn't have pushed him to do what he did and express himself, thinking, oh, we're teasing him. But in all honesty, that's what pushed him to express his love for her. And then that's also what pushed him to get on that journey. You know what I mean? Because he wouldn't have done it without that teasing. So teasing can be good and it can be bad. It just depends on how the person takes it and how the people are giving it. You know what I mean? The journey, like being an animal lover, just saved this man's life. You know what I mean? Like, he sees Mr. Wolf, he sees she bear, he sees the owls, and gets all the way up to the Milky Way. Like, wow. I wonder, and I'm in awe of the fact that because of what Native Americans do, indigenous people do in this country or have done in this country that we just don't know about. Like, when we look at constellations, I wonder how many of them have indigenous names. Like, we know the Greek and Roman names, but what are the indigenous names? Maybe that'll be something that I get on, because I bet there's a Scarface. We already know about Star Maiden, but from the OG way. But this would be from the Blackfoot. Funny thing is, I remember growing up, and my brother was said to be Blackfoot. Said that he had, not that he said it, other people said he had Blackfoot ancestry. And you could just look at him and look at, go on the encyclopedia and see like pictures of Blackfoot Indians or Blackfoot Native Americans. And I, even as a youngster, was like, he does kind of look like them. Which is funny because we look a lot alike. So, and I know I don't have Blackfoot, or I don't believe I have Blackfoot ancestry at all. So that's just funny to me. Just thought about that right then. But no, I loved this adventure. I love that he was able to go get there, get back to his woman, and they actually fell in love. It's your traditional, guy goes on an adventure, does a task, come back, gets the woman. But he wasn't no punk though. I mean, he got up there, fought these giant birds with Morningstar. Who ain't he just a? Tell me Morningstar isn't a prince that you see, the typical prince that you see in movies and cartoons and everything, trying to prove himself. My dad forbidden me to do this, so I'm going to do it anyway. Look, y'all, I'm going to tell you right now. Don't have your friends get you in trouble. Don't have your homies or your homegirls, your friends get you in trouble. If they mama, they daddy say they can't do it, and don't let them get you messed up because they want to go against what their parents said. Pull their coattail and be like, hey, your pop said don't do that. Don't, because I guarantee you gonna get in trouble. The only reason why he ain't getting in trouble because they saved it because he lived through the situation. But if you black, I can't speak for no other nationality, no other race. But if you black, if you tell that, if you go along, your mama gonna tax your butt just like just like they mama gonna tax their butt at the end of the day. So, you know what I'm saying? Just don't do that. All right. I thought that was funny. It reminded me when I was a kid running off with my friends, knowing they daddy and their mama said don't do that, and I did it and trying to keep it from my mama, and she found out anyway, and I got my butt taxed for it. But yeah, I mean, there's not much to this story. It's a beautiful story. Scarface, I hate the name they gave him afterwards, Smooth Face. It's like, no, just keep him as Scarface or come with something better. But Smooth Face was not it. I'm sorry, Blackfoot tribe. I am so sorry to say that. That's the only thing about your story that I did not like is the final name that he got. Like that wasn't it. It was not imaginative at all. But considering when the story was written or told, Smooth Face was what they had. So hey, I got some old family members, 16 and 1700s that had some horrible names too. So hey, I understand. But that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you coming on this journey with me. I appreciate the fact that you guys continue to come on this journey with me, and you know what to do next. Go see Chef. He has an interesting recipe for you this week. And as always, thank you and have a blessed day. Welcome, my friends, to the Galley. I am your chef, and today I have a wonderful recipe inspired by the story you have just heard. Today we will be making Blackfoot Pemmican. Yes, Pemmican. Tell them on to say it correctly next time. Now, what will you need for this recipe? Lean meat. Buffalo meat is traditional, but deer, elk, fish, or lean cuts of beef work too. Fat or tallow. Berries, optional, but blueberries are common, but really anything goes. You can use edible wild berries to give it an authentic taste. Spices, which are optional as well. Just like with berries, anything goes, but common spices used are sugar, maple sugar, or allspice. Now, how do we put this together? Easy. Dry the meat. The meat must not contain any moisture so that it stays preserved for long periods of time. First, you must slice the meat very thin. Pro tip, put the meat in the freezer before 20 to 30 minutes to partially freeze it before cutting it. This makes it easier to slice thin. Dry the sliced meat in the oven on the lowest setting for 6 to 7 hours, or until the meat is slightly crispy and not rubbery anymore. Native Americans would lay the strips of meat out in the sun all day, so you can do it that way too. Next, shred the meat. Once the meat is totally dry, put it in a food processor or blender until it becomes a fluffy, fine floss. You don't want chunks of meat in your pemmican. Alternatively, you could use a mortar and pestle. Native Americans would grind the meat between two stones. Season the meat. Mix in dried ingredients of your choice to add some flavor. Sugar is a good choice, but you could also dry some berries. Prepare the fat. If using raw fat, you must render it first. If the meat has been rendered, or if you're using tallow, heat it up slowly. Doesn't take much heat until it becomes liquid. Now, mix the fat and the meat. Add just enough fat to the meat so that it is cohesive and can be formed using your hands. You can press it into a container to make a nice shape, or just form it in your hands. Once you have the shape you want, let it sit for at least 1 hour to let the fat solidify again. And that is it, my friends. Now, go make this recipe yours. And until I have another wonderful recipe for you, remember Scarface, who is now Smoothface, and his journey for love. Until next time, my friends, as always, enjoy.
Thank you, my friends, for coming on this voyage. Thanks to Art by Chalet for the logo, episode, and shirt designs. You can get t-shirts and other items on tpublic.com. You can contact me on all socials at AfroTalesCast. That's AfroTales Cast. And email me at AfroTalesCast@gmail.com. You may also become a benefactor by simply sharing with any and everyone, giving a thumbs up, a 5-star rating and review in your podcast app of choice, or simply donating on Patreon or Ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com. So until we meet again, may your winds be fair and your seas follow.